This was the first time in the world India showed that identity is an economic asset. It is not for government to control border. The trust establishment will never be one. It will be always a set of proofs that I can produce. One such proof is Aadhaar.
Do you see the next big hyperscaler like coming out of India?
India's OCC network might be as big as a hyperscaler.
So what message you would like to give to young professionals and students who are working on AI and ML?
AI is just another tool. AI is just another wave. Many such waves will come and go.
What's the secret like behind such photos of Aadhaar card?
I always say, Aadhaar card, you can tear it away, you know that, right? That physical printout you're walking around become meaningless very soon.
Welcome to another episode of Tech Talks. This is Siddharth Jindal from AI Media House, and today we have Dr. Pramod Varma with us, the man who needs no introduction, the brain behind UPI, Aadhaar and DigiLocker. So Pramod, for a fact we know that you travel a lot and you are outside Bangalore. So what's keeping you busy these days and what are the recent projects you are working on?
Pleasure to be here, Siddharth. Thanks for doing this. What's keeping me busy, I think, in one sense, a good thing is that we are not dearth of problems. So we have a lot to think about. And since the last 15 years, I've been thinking about how do you apply technology to transform societies at scale. So a lot of us think at scale. What works at scale is different from trying a smaller projects. So a lot of our thinking is that how do we create large scale impact to society? In variety of verticals, and verticals can be education, agriculture, of course financial inclusion was a key part of our journey, and efforts like commerce, job opportunities. So much to do, it's fun. It's so much to do, we are keeping ourselves busy. So recent two, if you ask me, is one on the backend protocol side, which is creating decentralized network economy. We'll talk about that later maybe. And then of course we just recently launched a vision paper called the FinNet. A little bit cheeky name, but financial internet, because we were inspired by the nature of the internet. Internet itself has no borders, no particular purpose by itself. But it unravels so many possibilities by entrepreneurs on top, which is what we saw the post-internet effect. Even today, you and I, probably a podcast going on the internet, we watch streaming, games on the internet. So it's amazing what internet has continued to push the boundaries. So we are imagining something similar, a layer above the internet for a universal financial transaction infrastructure called the FinNet. So we have a lot to think about, a lot to do, and it's been fun.
Can you tell us more about like how will you execute and what will be the benefits of it, FinNet?
Okay, let's talk about FinNet, which is sort of our latest effort, which we have not talked much. The vision papers have been out. What is the imagination is that if you look at traditional financial systems, the pre-digitization world, they were all paper-based inside an institution like a bank. You go to a bank, bank could have some one or two products, you do all the paperwork and do it. Now, obviously, that had its own limitation of reach. The reach was always limited. Only people who had money could bank, and the bank also want only people who have money, really. Because it's not even viable otherwise to do anything. But the next wave of digital allowed some efficiency to be brought and convenience to be brought. So when internet banking came, ATM anywhere, mobile banking, and subsequently UPI, we allowed significant convenience. We brought significant convenience to some of the financial flows, especially money flow. But at the same time, it's not just money. As individuals, you and I have many type of assets. Physical assets such as land, or if you have a small SME, you might have a small factory, you might have physical assets, what's called real world assets. These days, you also have digital assets. For example, your digital data footprints or your verifiable credentials that you have accumulated are actually our assets for you to leverage.
Yeah.
The problem today with today's model is that these assets are actually locked into many different systems. So if I have to bring it all together, a property document which is in a registrar system, maybe in a state, in a Karnataka, for example, but a bank and maybe another insurance company, all of them have to start integrating. Now, if you're a technologist, it's not obvious to integrate hundreds of institutions through, while technically APIs can exist. Practically, everyone providing APIs, everyone providing integration each other is very hard to pull off at humanity scale. So what we are saying is that could there be a user-centric way to transact? That means each institution converts whoever is looking after my assets, let's say property registrar, to tokenize my property, or an insurance could tokenize my insurance, or a deposit, FD, in a bank could be tokenized, thus converting a passive product inside the bank to an active transactable asset in the hands of the user. Very bold, sort of forward-looking imagination, but part of crypto world, by the way, already had shown that tokenized assets are useful because it brings programmability, it brings fungibility, it brings transactability, all that good things it brings to the hands of the user. But we have not tried to do in traditional products like FD and all, we are not yet tokenizing. But there are some efforts, pilot efforts around the world, by the way, to do deposit tokens, bonds, government bonds as tokens, shares as tokens, so they can pledge a share to get a loan and things like that, composable flows. So you can imagine that it's an early beginning. We expect maybe next decade for us to be able to do this. But this we are imagining as a universal infrastructure. This is not an India project. It is a global internet-like infrastructure. Many countries might adopt, partly adopt, differently adopt. That depends on their journey, each journey.
So I would like to know, can you imagine a life in India without Aadhaar card, and who is Pramod Varma without Aadhaar card?
That's true. My identity is attached to Aadhaar also, right? It's very funny. Yeah, Aadhaar was the identity project, and our identity is somewhat associated.
So what were the major struggles, and how you came up with the idea, and how it was executed, and how you convinced the your team members, and we should go ahead with this?
Yeah, so it was, first of all, it was not me, in the sense that we had a team led by Nandan Nilekani as the chairman of the project. And he's a very naturally collaborative person, so he would reach out to a lot of people. Some of us volunteered for Aadhaar project at that time. In 2009, we quit our commercial world and joined. But each of us brought some skill to the table to be able to execute a project of that magnitude. It was very complex to imagine that 1 billion plus people will stand in line, apply for identity, get a digital identity, and it will become useful for them. Sometimes you issue identity which will never become useful. So we have to also worry about demand side use cases. Where are they going to use it? Why should they use it? And those questions have to be asked. So the project started because there was a thinking in 2008 itself about the need for ID. In fact, there were 2 attempts before, by the way, one in 90s and one in early 2003, Vajpayee time, to think about identity, because India never had a civil registry post-independence. We never put together. Many countries after independence have started putting together, including Sri Lanka and all, has a civil registry. We don't have one. So it was one of these days we had to put together a registry of people. Now, registry of citizens is hard in India. So we never ventured into citizenship part of it. But the project was to give identity. But the fundamental difference in Aadhaar was that it was meant for identity for development purposes. Traditionally, identities projects are associated with national security, border control, and so on. This was the first time in the world India showed that identity is an economic asset. It is not for government to control border. That is one view. The other view is that it becomes an economic asset in the hands of the people if you give ID. So Aadhaar was that is why Aadhaar was put under the Planning Commission then. It was not under the Home Ministry. So Planning Commission executed the project. Subsequently became an independent authority. But Nandan Nilekani led, we had Dr. Ramaseva Sama, who was a bureaucrat, career bureaucrat, who joined as a CEO. And some of us volunteered from Bangalore. And Bangalore and Delhi had to come together to imagine the possibility. But within a month or so, I think June is when we started brainstorming. Officially, Nandan joined end of July. And that's when the project was, sort of became official. By then, it was decided that it will become a digital ID. But the government didn't have they said simply issue identity to all. We, as part of the early discussions, said, let's not make it a complicated card project. Let's make it a digital identity project. And let's also ask the question, incentive question. Why should people stand in line? How can it be inclusive enough for 1 billion people to join without friction? Third, how does it really become useful every day? So we asked these key questions in the design, and that is why if you look at Aadhaar, you will realize that it was very extremely minimal. We kept only 4 attributes. We didn't even ask father, mother. We didn't even ask anything that complicated, because how does homeless join? How does orphans join? Then biometric, we had both type of biometric, because if only took fingerprint, what happens to millions of leprosy patients? How can they join? So we had to ask a lot of inclusion questions and to make sure that it is truly inclusive. Second, it is truly incentive aligned. That means many departments would like to, they don't see Aadhaar as a threat to them. They see Aadhaar as an enabler for them to do what they would like to do. Like a food department, distribution, PDS, ration shop department. They should see Aadhaar as a value to them. Banks should see Aadhaar as a value to do, for them to do whatever they want to do. If they see Aadhaar as a competition, then we will never succeed. So we have to create that incentive alignment. And the third is obviously drive demand side use cases, which is the 2 use cases, which is what we call a killer use cases. We started with, one was opening bank accounts, and second was direct benefits transfer. So all the government benefits transfer came directly to your bank account. That was the use case that triggered the Aadhaar wave.
So like with the advent of AI, we are seeing that like lot of fake identities are being created online. And like Sam Altman believes that we need word coin, that there's word ID, where like we'll be able to differentiate humans and AI. So like what do you think about that? Like is Aadhaar enough, or we should go ahead to create something better than that in the world of AI?
So I think there are 2 parts. Don't look at, you should imagine a world where interactions between 2 parties will require a set of proofs to establish trust. Any bilateral integration or interaction or transaction necessitates a set of proofs to be exchanged to establish trust between the channel, 2 parties. The trust establishment will never be one. It will be always a set of proofs that I can produce. One such proof is Aadhaar. Remember, World ID is one proof of humanity. Aadhaar is a proof of residentship in India. It includes humanity. Are you a person, human because of biometric, but it also includes, are you an Indian person, resident? It's a dual proof. It proves you are a human, And also you are an Indian resident.
So Indians don't need to register for Word ID as such.
I mean, they can choose to register as a private, multiple IDs you can have. If you find incentive to register and the world coin is attractive enough for you, it's your call. Now, there might be some, like GDPR in the Europe or our DPDP Act in India, might enforce some privacy constraints on companies like World ID to play on this playground. So that consumer protection, privacy and all is addressed. But other than that, choice is yours.
After Aadhaar, UPI was a huge success. It democratized like payments, and like right now it's available in Singapore and France as well.
Yeah.
That's great to know. And with like I wanted to ask, like with ONDC we tried to democratize e-commerce. So, but in case of UPI, we saw that players like Google Pay and Phone Pay like accelerating the process. Like we can also accept that demonetization also played some role in like making UPI a huge wave in India. So why aren't we seeing that same moment happening with ONDC currently? Like,
very good question. Actually, a lot of people ask this question. Why is ONDC not like UPI? They forget history. People forget history conveniently, by the way. Because we don't know how long it took for UPI. UPI started in 2013. It's been 11 years. ONDC started 2 years ago. So people sometimes miss that point that, because I know it's one sense it's good because people are impatient. They want to see the change. They want to see good stuff happening. I like the impatience, but sometimes Rome was not built in a day. They say, no, it takes time for a societal level change. UPI didn't come overnight. Now, serendipity, we had COVID in between, demonetization in between. We should not wish for another COVID. That's not what we should do. But we can always look for, can we give a booster shot to ONDC to create some trigger? Sure, we can think about that. There might be mechanism through which you can create booster shots that create some sort of a triggers a hockey stick curve. But I think don't underestimate UPI took 10 years. 2014 we actually started coding. So 10 years it took 10 plus years. ONDC is very, very young, small baby. So we should let it grow. And I'm pretty sure when we look back in 2030, we will see. Today, we have about 10 million transactions a month in ONDC. But I think we could hit 100 million, 200 million, and so on.
What are your thoughts on the technology, and like, and by when we can expect like some UPI movement for generative AI in India happening? So right
it's
now,
it's a good question. Yeah, go ahead.
Mostly controlled by like OpenAI and Metas of the world. So when can we expect like UPI movement for India?
There are, again, two parts. I want to answer that in two parts. One, can we see new Indian entrepreneurs who are producing products at that imagination like ChatGPT, right? Can they produce really compelling products in the world? Can our entrepreneurs rise up to, may not be like OpenAI because that's, access to capital, access to market, or that they have a different play. But some of the Indian entrepreneurs can definitely aspire to still be a, billion-dollar unicorn, decacorn plus AI company. Sure. So that's one question. Do they have enough access to capital, access to networks, and access to a playground which is friendly enough to play? India should definitely aspire to offer that playground to our entrepreneurs to be able to do. But because we are a young entrepreneurial nation compared to a valley, there will be a gap. I don't expect that gap to go away overnight. Like Indian entrepreneurs' ability to raise capital might be in 5 million, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, but they go freaking raise it, and he was asking 6 trillion or something, right? So it's just different level of, asks they have. Nothing stop. I think Indians should not shy away from being Indian entrepreneurs, should not shy away from being exceptionally bold and ambitious. Because they have to be somebody who is exceptionally bold and ambitious, who set the tone, and the next entrepreneurs. And that's how the culture gets created. So that is one part of it. Can we create playgrounds? Can we see some entrepreneurs dreaming really big and making a play for it? I would love to see that. I think it's important that we provide that environment and opportunity. On the other hand, the second part of it is the impact of generative AI. That's not a creation of it, impact of it. That I think would be a UPI moment, coming faster than the first one.
Okay.
First one, entrepreneurs have to try, and I encourage everyone, and servants of the world, and I know you have talked to many of them, they're all attempting at different scale, but nevertheless, a big enough scale. Voice as a means to bring 1 billion people to join. Sure, bold, nice, compelling, wish them all the luck, and Bhavish is trying with Kritam. So I think it's good to see that. The second part I think would be much faster. I have a feeling that we will see generative AI, not only generative AI, AI in general, penetrating through art, media, especially our movie industry, transport, commerce, everywhere. You will see no reason, because currently we live in a very low performing equilibrium. I can see AI being applied to every one of those economic workflows or HR workflows. Every such workflow, you can bring AI into it. Legal, ask any domain, you can see AI playing out. I think we'll see a UPI moment, if I were to call, of usage of AI more than the production of AI. Production of AI, I'm not sure whether we will see another OpenAI coming from here yet. I wish them all the best, but I'm not sure.
On that line, I wanted to know that as you said, Katram and Hanuman, Sagam, they are not able to find customers. Like people still go to ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude. So what different should they do to get customers from India? Like even like CP Gundani recently unveiled Project Indus.
Correct.
So I tried it out, but it's not as good as we expected it to be, like ChatGPT. So like they spent a lot of cash in building that, but still I'm it's sad to say no one will use it. So what different should they do?
I think it is unfair. I feel it's very unfair to tell them that it's not working. I'll tell you why. It takes time. Every business goes through this cycle of production, distribution, unlocking value to their customer. Then customers will start using. But one thing is clear. No way. Hundreds of enterprises, like hospitals, Narayana Hridayalaya, all these hospitals, there's no way they're going to put out all the thing to one API called OpenAI, ChatGPT API. It's not going to happen. I think it's a wrong dream to have saying we only need one API. So we should not expect everyone to go to that one API to be able to solve. I don't expect it to happen. Both will coexist. A generalized mega model that's like a Google search replacement, or Google search itself becoming better, doesn't matter. What's called a world knowledge models. And that might be very hard to play. The capability and capital requirement to achieve that may be very high, and it's hard to play that game. But there exists opportunity for what's called micro models. Specialized micro models that can be embedded into the workflows of today. That brings enormous efficiency, accuracy, and cost saving to variety of sectors, industrial sectors to healthcare sector to insurance processing today is very broken. We submit all kinds of proofs, paper, and human beings are sitting and flipping through all that paper. So we can imagine micro models, powerful enough, but very specialized, starting to bring very specialized impact or value into enterprises or micro enterprises. The idea of entrepreneurism is to attempt, not to necessarily succeed. Remember, when Wright's brothers were trying plane, randomly flying thing called flight. They were falling apart. At that time, somebody would have made from, what the hell are you trying? Right?
Yeah.
So I think entrepreneur's job is to attempt, reimagine, keep trying these possibilities. Many of them results in failure, but those failures set the stepping stone for the next person to succeed. If you don't have a habit of attempting, habit of trying, habit of problem solving, we have a fundamental DNA problem. Okay, that is why I think we should all applaud all these people who are attempting. Attempting is brave. Succeeding is not guaranteed.
On that line, like I know you are also playing a crucial role in providing compute, like with the People Plus AI initiative, Open Cloud Compute.
Yeah.
So I like to know more about that, like how much of compute are you able to provide to the like budding startups in India? And I know for a fact that like there's a term called micro data centers, which you guys have come up with. So I would like to know more about that.
Okay, so that is an effort called Open Cloud Compute, OCC. It's an open source, market-driven initiative. What does it do? It sort of reimagines the idea of mega data centers and mega computing infrastructure to say, one way to achieve scale is to create mega setup. Another way to achieve scale, especially with if it is digitally friendly, is to have many micro, but behaving like a mega, collectively behaving like a mega. So that is our network model, right? The idea of miniaturization trend. Everything is getting smaller. Connectivity and softwareization. Three trends. Remember, these trends are very powerful trends to remember. Everything is getting miniaturized. Everything is getting softwareized. What does it mean? It becomes programmable remotely. And everything is getting connected. So if miniaturized, programmable edge exists, and if they can all be connected together, you can achieve a mega economy of scale using micro. Today, you can perfectly imagine 100 5,000 square feet data center. Suddenly, it's becoming a 500,000 square feet of compute, right?
Yeah.
That's 500,000 by 1 versus 100, 5,000 square feet. This allows lower capital businesses to come in and play to the larger game. But the problem we see, why OCC came together, is because if you were to start a 5,000 square feet data center, let's say in Mysore or in somewhere, you will find it hard to individually sell and compete with a mega player. So that means we have to bring all of them in a global mesh to behave like a mega. So they can collectively say, oh, we have 500,000 square feet of compute.
Yeah.
Not by me, but among many.
Like small data centers and coming together to create a one huge data center.
Yeah. So we are creating a new set of playground for what we call a micro data center players who can also supplement. This is not to replace mega data center, remember, because our computing needs are increasing. So we can only supplement.
So our upcoming new cloud players like E2E, Yota and Kritrim,
they're all part of that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. E2E is all part of that, yeah.
Okay. Government recently announced that they'll invest crores of rupees in buying GPUs. So what are your thoughts on that? And is that amount enough for startups like in India?
I'm not sure government is actually investing in for giving it to startups. That may be even trickier. I've not understood the full plan government has. I'm not. We are only providers of. We provide inputs to them. But so there might be some argument of government wanting to procure and provision a cluster for academic and research, centrally funded or other academic. Should they provision that for startup? I find it hard because government rules will make it very hard to provision to whom. Why did you give it to that startup?
Yeah.
So it's going to get very tricky for government to be able to say, how can I evaluate them? to give to whom.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes all kinds of drama here in India. Okay, so so I don't think they will go there. Independently, we also asked an additional question: can government also, in addition to procuring for their own purposes, can they potentially create a financial product? It's like a bond, compute bond, that they can come up with, where startup VCs or startups can buy vouchers by investing into it. And government can say, if so many investments have come through this bond, I have a collective negotiation power. Instead of each startup trying to negotiate, or each VC trying to negotiate for their startup, if they can pool in the demand, future demand, and invest into a financially negotiation instrument, then government might be able to make a negotiation playground. Government has that power also traditionally. Instead of procuring hardware, that they can do for their own IIT and other purposes. But in addition, I think government might also want to look at creating some sort of a create a negotiation instrument that allows the demand of the country to be pooled and then collectively negotiate for a better price in the next 5 years. That way, you don't have to lock into H100s. You can lock in to so many vouchers, compute vouchers. So it doesn't matter about the new models. And then they can go to a large 1 or 2 cloud providers and say, can you, here is my vouchers to be able to lock in, negotiate some price for the country. So that way we are making sure we have availability of compute and evolvability. That means 2 years later, 200 will come. And when that is starting to flood, what is the use of providing 100 today, which by the time it provisions, it will be outdated. So you might be a dual strategy. Buy for internal purposes and maybe negotiate for larger purpose. Maybe that's what they can do.
Do you see the next big hyperscaler like coming out of India? Or
why not? I don't see any reason why we can't see large. But thinking large is necessary. So whether will we have a large hyperscaler or will we have an OCC network that is behaving like a hyperscaler by 100 different, and we are also telling government to explore a data center park, like STP, software technology parks. If that happens, advantages are physical D-cell connection, dual fiber lines, multiple power lines, security, physical security protection. If they can give a software, then they can, each building can be operated and by different companies. But collectively, you will have a hyperscaler-like effect. But it may not be one company. That's another way to imagine that. India's OCC network might be as big as a hyperscaler. Not one entity, but Reliance and all might imagine, okay? They might have their own dream of making big data center, which is also okay.
So like how's XStep doing right now, and like with Diksha we know. So like is it also integrating some GenAI capabilities for increasing the learning of students?
We are working, so XStep Foundation, for the people who don't know, has been focused, 2015 we set it up as a philanthropic effort. And this was set up to address the education sector. So primarily school education, and then we subsequently expanded to school education and skilling and livelihoods, especially blue collar, grey collar. It's very, very fragmented and broken in India. So we are focusing on some of that area as a foundation, and as a CTO, we actually activate a lot of projects. One of them, which we did previously, 8 years ago, in 2017, I think. 7 years ago, was Diksha. And Diksha has grown to national scale. It's continued to be used by many states, many syllabuses, curriculums, and so on. But now we are asking, there is a project called ALL, AI-assisted language learning, and we are also bringing AI-assisted numeracy and math learning. So this is for the people who are strugglers. So we are focusing on the strugglers, because if you are not a struggler, our argument is that you have enough on the internet today. to be able to learn further. But we have a large section who can't even get to that. We have many people in the 8th grade, for example, who can't even read like a 3rd grader. So system has given up on them. So we are addressing what's called 3 levels. People, our children are typically the leaders. They already have everything. So they are almost chasing, top. Really, they are very aspirational. They are cruising their own. Then there is a level of people who can read and write. That's not the point. They need additional to do better. That's where the physics walas and all these guys are attempting this. YouTube, many channels today exist for the people who are in the middle to be able to become better. Then there is a large strugglers who have somehow shown up to 8th grade, who are not even at the 2nd, 3rd grade level. So if somebody is teaching them triangles or geometry, you have to remember they have not even got the number system correct in their mind. So it is a deaf ears. It's falling on deaf ears. And typically these are the last 1 or 2 benches in the classroom. And anyway, they have been called stupid people. So very sad situation, right? We are just letting millions of children like that. We, Extra Foundations, focus on that sector. Stragglers, not to replace physics walas of the world, not to replace what is already existing. It's for the people who are stragglers to say, you can also learn language and basic math so that you can go to the 2nd bucket. If you have motivation, you can at least move up to the 2nd bucket, right? There we have a project called ALL. So if you go to all.all.xref.org, you will find completely AI-driven language learning and number learning so that people can practice. And this is now live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, throughout Tamil Nadu. Karnataka is going live. The 3rd state now also going live on this. It's all completely open source, by the way. If anybody wants to join, they can all join the community and contribute.
So on that lines, like what message you would like to give to young professionals and students who are working on AI and ML, and like what are your thoughts about the statement which Narayan Murthy recently made about one should work 70 hours a week?
This is one of those, I think we twist and turn many sentences out of context. I don't even know what context he spoke. Anyway, he's a previous generation person. Leave him alone. He worked hard to get wherever he is and he has his opinion. It's okay. I think maybe, I am thinking that his point was that there is nothing that beats hard work. I think probably his statement was that there is no free lunch. Everyone has to work hard if you want to succeed. Unless you are like some serendipity lucky, okay? Otherwise, there is no lottery ticket in life. Every day, you have to work hard. I think that must have been his point. Yeah. But even my point would be that I think if you're a youngster in the AI or other field, AI is just another tool. AI is just another wave. Many such waves will come and go. You have to embrace boldly, point number 1. Embrace it, not fight it. In the sense that don't just jump in the pool. If you are a youngster, learn everything about it. So being a lifelong learner, the hunger to learn is point number 1. I would say if you are in the AI, great. 6 years ago, we were talking crypto, then it's great, but it doesn't matter. And you will have this continuously. The second part, I would definitely think if you are thinking, surround yourself with smarter people than you. One thing I have learned is that I'm always surrounded with people who are smarter than me, which is very, very good. You might feel awkward because you are probably not the smartest in the room. But you'll be amazed how much you learn, how much your way of thinking is enhanced. It's like playing chess with better chess players is better than weaker chess players and keep beating. You might feel that you're winning every day, but you're not learning anything, right? So surround yourself with smarter people and be optimistic, very optimistic and ambitious about the thinking. Don't limit your thinking and optimism. Only 2-3 things that has worked for me. I am every day learning, surround yourself with smarter people, and never lose your optimism or hope.
So there's one question which everyone asked me to ask you, and I told I'm interviewing Pramod. So everyone uses Aadhaar card. So the quality of photo, not everyone, not everyone is happy about.
Even my father is unhappy. Okay. Yeah.
So like, what's the secret like behind such photos of Aadhaar card? Like,
Yeah.
I will see better photos in the future.
Yes, it's amazing. This question comes up. It's funny. One of the things that we did is to not, if we had gone down a path of very, very specialized equipments needed to run Aadhaar, like SLR camera or good cameras, rather than a cheap webcam.
Yeah.
What we would have never launched Aadhaar. We would have never scaled to 1 billion people in 7 years. What we realized is we can get a reasonable quality of photo for the purposes of deduplication and identity issuance with commodity hardware. And we bet on the trend that Moore's law and commodity, you will have better cameras. And today's commodity cameras is no more 10 years ago. 10 years ago resolution and today's resolutions are, you can get 4K tiny cameras even today, right? Commoditized, actually very high quality cameras. So we bet on that, saying if everyone uses Aadhaar every day and it becomes valuable, you will be able to go back and update your photograph later. And by the time you go back and upgrade, camera quality is improved. We don't have to worry about the best photo on day one.
Okay.
Our day one, if you had focused on getting SLR cameras for 1 billion people, we would have been procuring another 2G scam would have happened, okay? So I don't think we wanted to go through that. I think it was very clear in our mind, it was not a procurement game. It was about unlocking value for people. And if it is valuable, we can always offer an update, no?
Yeah.
Your identity, you go and update yourself. Anyway, you have to update because face do change.
Yeah.
And people grow up and they want to do it. So we realize every 5-10 years or so, human beings have to update their photo. But 10 years later, when you now go, you will start seeing better quality of cameras and so on. I always say, Aadhaar card, you can tear it away. You know that, right? There is no thing called original card, Aadhaar. Yeah. So you are your identity.
Yeah.
Your face, your identity. Today, DigiYatra uses your face, not Aadhaar card, no?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about what's printed. 5 more years later, 10 more years later, that physical printout you're walking around become meaningless very soon in the future. Because you are your identity and you can authenticate anytime. So 2 reasons why we didn't bother much about the printout.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, like, with generative AI becoming popular, can we expect like Gen AI facilities in existing DPI, like DigiLocker, where we can find information just by like querying in the information?
Brilliant question. We are imagining possibilities. By the way, generative AI is already used in Aadhaar inside. GST, we are using AI for detecting circular loops and other any fraudulent patterns. Invoice processing, some of that processing, and it's everywhere. I think we say DPI to the power of AI. If you combine AI to DPI, you can now bring voice interfaces. UPI can go through roof if you can do voice-based payment. I think we will see AI playing into DPI to further expand and bring efficiency and expansion of DPI. Definitely. And I think that's going to play out naturally. I think there's a lot of play there.
Yeah, like I was hoping like if I want to order something on like be ONDC or Swiggy, like just I want to save to my phone like order biryani or something like that.
Entrepreneurs should do it right now.
Yeah. And then like
I actually, by the way, a lot of us feel India's future is voice.
Even Vivek had the same thought.
Look at our form filling and all that things, very outdated. We came from a Western notion of digitization with a laptop, desktop mentality. We have forms that says Dropbox, combo box, and fill up, radio button, like that and all we form. Most people don't even comprehend that. It's not easy. What if they can have a interactive session? Tell me your name. Okay. Tell me your thing. Everything's okay. Confirm. A form can be filled through voice. So we are not imagining, we are copy pasting still older method. But Indian entrepreneurs should really look at voice as a completely new human-computer interaction method could be very powerful. And I think it's going to happen because choice, because that's natural to humans. Touch was good enough from keyboard. Now I think voice will come. I think, so you should definitely explore some of that.
Okay. I think you answered most of my questions. Like, thank you for taking up your time in the afternoon. Like, what final message you would like to give to our viewers with the future of India alongside AI in coming into the picture?
Opportunities are plenty. And India needs entrepreneurial brevity and ability to solve hard problems in India. 1.4 billion. It's going to grow some more time before it tapers down. How do we bring access, affordability, and opportunities to 1 billion people is not a joke. It's not straightforward. It's not copy-paste. We have much to do in healthcare, financial products, and so on. So much more to do. Our job is to create that playground for entrepreneurs to be able to freely do it and not come in their way. So my real message is go out there and solve. So much to solve. And India definitely needs you.
Thank you, Pramod, for taking out your time and speaking with us and inspiring young developers around India. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.